Within the Warhammer community, the Dark Angels have always had a bit of a reputation of being untrustworthy. Some say that they are full-blown heretics and they are hiding some deep, dark secrets. But I think that the Dark Angels are truly going to be the heroes of the Horus Heresy. Without the Dark Angels, then Terra would have been lost, the Imperium would have crumbled, and Horus would have reigned supreme. Now, before we delve in and talk more about this, just a quick spoiler warning that I'm going to be talking about the Siege of Terra series, so if you haven't read it, if you're not up to date, you may want to turn off the video right now, because of course, I'm going to be spoiling some of the lore, some of the story that's involved in those books. Now, you're probably thinking, what are you on about, Valrak? There were only 3 legions who were loyal to the Emperor at the Siege of Terra, and that is where you would be wrong. It wasn't just the Imperial Fist, Blood Angels and White Scars. Actually, Vulcan was on Terra with some of his legionnaires, well, I think it was about 3 of them, but also we managed to get the Dark Angels break through the siege. They landed on the planet, and they are currently fighting to help the Loyalists on Terra. Now, who the hell is leading this Dark Angel force? Well, it's none other than probably the greatest Dark Angel who has ever lived, Corswain. Corswain arrived with around 10,000 Dark Angels legionnaires on the edge of the Sol system as the traitors were attacking the planet, as they were sieging it, and he managed to break through the traitor blockade. Now, all this isn't as easy as I'm making it sound. Corswain, even though he had 10,000 legionnaires, he couldn't just walk up to Terra, blast his way through, and that was it. There was other factors involved. One of the main factors is that Perturabo at this stage basically packed up his cases and he has left the Siege of Terra. I actually did a video on itself all about that. Did Perturabo save the Imperium because, he got grumpy and walked away? Also involved was the Custodes and the Emperor's flagship, the Imperator Somnium. Without that ship, then the Dark Angels wouldn't be able to break through the blockade. When they broke through the blockade, the Emperor's flagship was destroyed, but it went out in like a blaze of glory, taking out like loads of traitor ships, so the Dark Angel fleet could go down and land at the Siege of Terra. Now, the main reason why I think the Dark Angels are the unsung heroes is because where they landed and what they're attempting to do. So they landed at a place called the Hollow Mountain, and this is where the Astronomicon signal is sent from, because at this point in the story there is no signal from the Astronomicon. That's why Gilliman, that's why Lehman Russ, that's why the Lion himself, all the loyalists in the galaxy who are trying to get to the siege cannot get there, because there's no beacon for them to aim at, and the Dark Angels are now fighting to relight the Astronomicon and actually put that beacon up in the sky so the rest of the loyalists can find their way to Terra, and then they can finally start to outnumber the traitors and bring the fight to them. Now, there is a bit of a complication in this where things could go awry, things could get very, very tricky. Because with the Dark Angels, as you would expect, there is some in there that are actually not loyal to the cause. So what happened before Corswain actually went to the Sol system to find out what was going on? He actually stopped at Caliban, he spoke to Luther, Luther gave him some reinforcements, and we all know that the Marines that Luther gave Corswain actually belong to the cause of Luther and a free Caliban, and not actually for the Imperium. So what is happening now actually on the Siege of Terra is that some contingent of the Dark Angels, we don't know how many, we don't know how many thousands, it could be half, it could be more than half, we literally don't know. They are loyal to Luther, and they actually don't want the Astronomicon to restart. So what's going to happen now is that Corswain is going to be fighting this war. He wants to relight the Astronomicon, as we've stated, but of course there's going to be those close to him, probably very, very close to him, that don't want this to happen, and Corswain's got to have to deal with this treachery in his own ranks. Now, we don't know how it's going to play out officially, but we can all agree that in one way or the other, the Astronomicon gets lit because Guilliman and Russ and the Lion, they all eventually do make it towards the Siege of Terror. This is one of the reasons why Horus, it's stated, lowers his shield so he can have the final duel with the Emperor and try to end it himself. I am still convinced that Abaddon is the true culprit of lowering them shields and forcing that duel, because Abaddon has always had this concept that it should be settled by warriors, not witchery of the warp. For me personally, I think the Dark Angels are going to be a success at relighting the Astronomicon. I think Corswain is going to be hailed as a hero, and rightly so. And as I mentioned at the start of the video, without them lighting the Astronomicon, then Guilliman, Lehman, the Lion, whoever else, Korax out there, couldn't find their way to Terra and bring justice to the traitors. So really, in my eyes, without the Dark Angels being on Terra would have fell. The Imperial Fist, even though we made our fortifications the best we could, Rogel Dawn has always stated that Terra itself would fall. It would fall to the forces of the traitors because they had an infinite amount of resources. They were using the witchery of the warp, something that the loyalists just didn't have. So the best thing that Dawn could do is basically try and fortify for time. Time was his main thing during the Siege of Terror. Time for the loyalists to actually reach the siege and then put pressure on the traitors in orbit and start landing all their troops. That is what Dawn was out for. A lot of people get confused about Rogel Dawn and like, oh, it was always going to fall. The walls were breached. You're a loser, Rogel. You're a loser, Imperial Fists. Dawn knew that was going to happen. He just had to wait for the rest of the loyalists to come. And in my eyes, he achieved victory that way because the loyalists did come, thanks to the aid of the Dark Angels. Anyway, Chaperonios, I'm going to wrap the video up there. I cannot wait to see what happens in the next couple of books because there's only 2 more books now left in the Siege of Terror series. Of course, we may get some novellas in between that, but I really want to see more of Corswain. I think it's a huge injustice that we haven't seen more of Corswain in the Horus Heresy. We've had bits of glimpses of him, but not anything that really shows off his character. He's supposed to be an absolute hero of the Dark Angels, and he deserves more character, I should say screen time, and hopefully we'll get that very, very soon in the next couple of books. Anyway, enough waffling from me. If you've got any thoughts, feedback, anything like that, post it down below. Do you truly believe the Dark Angels are the heroes, or deep down, are they still just heretics that you cannot trust? See you now, have a great day, and bye-bye.